U.S. carried out retaliatory strikes on Iranian-linked militia leaders in Iraq and Syria. So we thought we'd start off the show with some fireworks.
So we are going to hit everything on Dick Cheney's bucket list. He's not dead, right?
But that's what he's living for. That's what we're gonna know when we did the last atrocity on his bucket list when he dies.
He's gonna retire.
He won't die until then.
He'll be like Thanos with his armor.
We have just gotten in of what's happening there on the ground. This is the aftermath of one of the strikes. The U.S. hit, we understand, 85 targets. You can actually see this in the air. You can see the strikes on the ground from this video here, and you can hear. And you can hear it as well as those on those impacts. The U.S. hitting Iranian-backed militants who were responsible for the drone attack in which 3 American soldiers were killed and dozens more were injured in Jordan. According to the U.S. Central Command, U.S. forces hit 7 locations. According to the White House, the strikes lasted 30 minutes. Now, they are characterizing this as successful.
Oh, my God.
Successful in terms of stirring up World War III.
Yeah, I love that they're like contractually obligated to say Iranian backed in front of every single
Iranian. Well, of course,
Iranian backed.
Of course,
I don't even think Russia calls Ukraine American backed.
Terrorist group. The U.S. conducted major airstrikes on 85 targets across 7 locations in Iraq and Syria on Friday, the start of what will likely be a series of larger-scale U.S. strikes on Iranian-backed militias who have carried out attacks on U.S. troops in the Middle East. The retaliatory strikes, which lasted 30 minutes and were successful, depending on how you define that, according to the White House, came in response to a drone strike by Iran-backed militants on a U.S. military outpost in Jordan on Sunday, which killed 3 U.S. service members and wounded more than 40 others. President Joe Biden said in a statement that the U.S. military response, quote, will continue at times and places of our choosing. The United States does not seek conflict in the Middle East or anywhere else in the world, but let all those who might seek to do us harm know this. If you harm an American, we will respond. Biden added, harming Americans is my job. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said in a statement that the strikes are the start of our response.
Great.
And this is from Syria. The U.S. launched a blatant air aggression against a number of sites and towns in the eastern region of Syria and near the Syrian-Iraqi border, which led to the martyrdom of a number of civilians and soldiers, the injury of others, and the infliction of significant damage to public and private property, the Syrian Ministry of Defense said in a statement. Yahya Rasool, a spokesperson for Iraq's armed forces, decried the strikes as a violation of Iraqi sovereignty. The city of Al-Qaim and the Iraqi border areas are being subjected to airstrikes by U.S. aircraft at a time when Iraq is striving hard to ensure the stability of the region, Rasool said. These strikes are considered a violation of Iraqi sovereignty and undermine the efforts of the Iraqi government, posing a threat that could drag Iraq and the region into undesirable consequences. The outcomes will be dire for the security and stability in Iraq and the region, the spokesman continued. Iran warned the strikes would only escalate tensions. Iran, quote, Iran considers the attacks as a violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Iraq and Syria, international law, and a clear violation of the United Nations Charter. The attack is an adventurous action and another strategic mistake by the U.S. government, which will have no result other than intensifying tension and instability in the region, the statement added.
Oh, it was successful.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's successful in terms of moving us closer to the dystopian hellscape of the post-World War III world. A senior administration official confirmed to CNN that the U.S. will not strike inside Iran. Whew, well, that's a relief. Only focusing on targets outside of the country. Quote, we don't seek a war with Iran. We're not looking for a wider conflict in the Middle East, Kirby told CNN on Monday. So with their crackerjack journalism over at the New York Times, these folks have never met a war they did not want to provoke. So here's Brett Stevens and his wisdom, hearkening back to the Iran-Iraq war, those halcyon days that we're all so nostalgic for.
When we knew who the bad guy was.
And particularly when we were arming and supporting Saddam Hussein.
Well, we didn't know, but we didn't care. And that's
we didn't really care. In that enemy of my enemy, all that. In that day-long engagement, the U.S. Navy sank 6 Iranian ships and destroyed 2 Iranian intelligence facilities on old oil platforms. Tehran got the point. Yeah, don't you see how docile they are to us now? Praying Mantis helped end Iran's attacks on international shipping, and it was one of the factors that finally persuaded Iran's leaders to agree to an end to the Iran-Iraq war. Iran has used its proxies to start fires across the Middle East. They won't be put out until the arsonist is taken down. Dun, dun, dun. There's Murtaza Hussein. Brett Stevens calling for war with Iran again. The government should subsidize creation of international brigade of neoconservatives to volunteer fight all these conflicts in the Middle East instead of forcing young people from Georgia and Appalachia to die for their obsessions. Hear, hear. And here's, we talk about people in the closet. Here's Lindsey Graham's take on this.
If you want a war with us, bring it on. We'll blow you off the friggin' map. I'm not worried about losing a war with Iran. They should be worried about losing.
What? We lost a war to 2 countries. Oh my God.
Yeah, no. Hey.
We already lost to them in Iraq, by the way, didn't we? We lost to Iran in Iraq.
Well, this is a country of winners, Kurt, and we don't truck in that kind of language.
Okay. Well, good luck recruiting your non-binary forces that are going to somehow pull this off.
I think he misspoke. I think he meant to say, "I'll blow you on the freaking map." You know, everybody makes mistakes.
I'll blow you anyway.
No, come on. Yeah. The U.S. military is the winningest team in baseball, right?
Best money we ever spent.
Well, technically, that's a stalemate, right? That's still that war never ended. Actually, Korea, Vietnam. Oh yeah, we did have to flee Vietnam. Iraq. Oh yeah, we did have to kind of pack up and move out of there. Oh yeah, Afghanistan. Oh no, that was kind of like Saigon with the last helicopters out with people hanging on the landing skids. Yeah.
But they all end like that. They all end with a helicopter taking off and someone hanging off it. That's how well we do, except Grenada.
So you're suggesting that Lindsey Graham doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about or doesn't care because he's never actually going to have to go fight there.
I think it's the only way he can come.
Probably. So do you think like a lot of these war hawks have a kink? Like they can't jack off at night without seeing brown people bombed in the Middle East.
Yeah, or like
on that score, I don't blame Brett Stevens for getting excited. I mean, if we don't want war with Iran, this is one of the biggest cock teases in the modern history of American foreign policy because we're certainly acting like we do.
Got to play hard to get.
That's
Maybe we'll, maybe we won't.
All right. So needless to say, in all seriousness, this is an extremely dangerous situation. And I mentioned on the show the other day, Iran tried to get the other powers in the region to follow its lead and defend the Palestinians. And one got the sense they were prepared to go to war as part of an alliance. But the other powers in the area seem to feel it just wasn't worth the risk. A lot of them are taking money from the United States. They're getting aid money. They don't want that kind of trouble. But when you start bombing their countries, hitting civilians and hitting infrastructure, you're really incentivizing them to rethink that, aren't you?
You're forcing them.
Right.
Which is what we want, by the way. I still remember Christopher Hitchens 10, 12 years ago talking about how Iran, they have flags with a mushroom cloud on the flag right now to get nuclear weapons because they're so crazy. And they say things like death to America. You know, crazy talk. I ain't seen no death to America. I saw, hey, this is really insane. And we're going to be drawn into something. That's all the normal talk. And all the crazy Ayatollah talk is coming out of Lindsey Graham for some reason.
Well, you know, we have a segment later on this evening about Thomas Friedman's latest article where he, directly compares Middle Easterners to insects which is the first story in his upcoming anthology book, On the Nose, the collective works of Thomas Friedman.
The nose is flat.
He upstaged himself because he came out with another article earlier this week, and the title is, I have this on my phone here, it's called A Biden Doctrine for the Middle East is Forming, and it's big. And he starts out, there are two things I believe about the widening crisis in the Middle East. We are about to see a new Biden administration strategy unfold to address this multi-front war involving Gaza, Iran, Israel, and the region. What I hope will be a, quote, Biden doctrine that meets the seriousness and complexity of this dangerous moment. And number two, if we don't see such a big, bold doctrine, the crisis in the region is going to metastasize in ways that will strengthen Iran, isolate Israel, and leave America's ability to influence events there for the better in tatters. As if it's not metastasizing with Biden's help already. Right.
No, it's amazing how these people talk like, no, everything's going fine there. We just have to tweak
all according to plan.
Our policy a little bit. All right. Anything else?
Nope.
All right,
How's
folks. All I'm going to say is, if I did a lot of traveling last year. People said, "Why are you traveling?" I said, because I want to get this in before World War III starts. So time's ticking, folks. If there's a place on your bucket list, I would recommend that you go there.
Hey, come see us do a live stand-up show. We're going to be in Omaha, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Michigan, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Philadelphia, Avenel, New Jersey, Boston, Palm Springs, and more. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets. See you at a live show.